viewers, it's James Kalm again, and we're back for a half-assed, rough-cut review. We're going to go in and look at a show by Farrell Brickhouse at Life on Mars. See if we can get a little chat here with Farrell. We'll take a quick sort of sweep of the gallery. Yeah, come on over, Farrell. Let's have a little talk. You can give us a little guide through here. Well, let's come over. You're saying it was just kind of a group of recent paintings. We'll just take a little stroll and you can talk a little bit about this. One of the things that kind of interested me is that I don't want to come off sounding as a geezer, but I think I saw your first show, at least the first one that I saw was at Max Protect up on 57th Street back around 1980, something like that.
Him then?
So, and you've been painting seriously since then. I was kind of thinking that the early work there, you were pretty much an abstract painter. Have you gone back to doing figurative, or, you know, what? There's always a battle in New York, it seems, between the abstract painters and the figurative painters. And what's your take on that? Because I'm thinking that a lot of this work is kind of expressionistic figuration.
Well, I kind of think we kind of moved past that, those distinctions. We have support interdisciplinary, and, you know, abstract guys are into figurative painting. I got lots of support, but my trajectory is not that unfamiliar. You know, we were trained figuratively, but the real energy was in abstraction. We learned those lessons.
Where did you go to school?
I went to Queens College.
So you're a New York boy.
Was there, yeah.
Okay.
Ilya Balatovsky, Gabriel Latterman.
You know, one of the other things that even back in the early work that I remember is you were using kind of a lot of wood, eccentric shaped things that you had found. This is an example. What is this? Where did you find this piece of this wood?
For a while I worked with a stair builder, a master stair builder, and he would have these wonderful exotic woods, but not everything made it into the process. So I would always kind of go through his trash at the end of the day and bring things back.
I think you've got a fan here that wants to have a little...
I just wanted to listen to what you're saying.
Oh, okay. We have an audience too already. Yay! But I don't think, you know, that's the kind of traditional, you know, trajectory. Guston was the archetype model of that, where you brought what you knew and learned from abstraction back to figuration. But I never felt, you know, the term they used for me was a referential abstract. So it wasn't unusual for a tree to be poking out of my stripe painting.
And you're also someone that obviously likes to use a lot of paint and
which hasn't changed from
deal with pigment and things like that.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk a little bit about some of your influences, the people that you look at, that you mentioned Guston, but I'm thinking
that... I had to go through Guston, you know?
That's right.
And I think finally I've arrived at me these days. I only reference Guston because he was an archetype for the trajectory that many of my generation and before my generation had to go through. You know, we were trained in this figurative way. We learned and moved into abstraction for a while because that's where the real energy is.
It's titled Healer 3 for Dana.
Yes.
And this is what, about 14 by 18, something like that?
Yep.
12 by 16?
I got very sick, and somebody taught me about Reiki, so I've been making these Reiki paintings and healing paintings. And this is just a domestic scene, home life.
And you started throwing some glitter in there. When did the glitter start to appear?
You know, my kids at SVA, they throw out so much stuff. So one of the things they threw out was this artistic glitter. So it sat on my palette for about a year before I figured out what to do with the damn stuff. But it has to be used like a paint, or else it's like pixie dust and becomes a kind of sticky thing. It's a little tricky. This is the painting to celebrate
celebration
of the Marriage Equality Act, the passage of the Marriage Equality Act. I keep thinking about what my art can speak to. What's the range of subject matter my art can speak to?
Okay, we're going to slide over here to the other wall. This is actually a painting that caught my eye.
That's my Summer Shamish.
Diptych. And
it finally became a diptych. It came together.
I like the kind of the paint handling here in the upper section. Looks like you got in there and done a lot of scraping and painting over.
Yeah.
And then the section down, the section down here looks like it ended up catching all of the stuff that got scraped off.
Nice read.
What's the term? Summer shaman.
I'm a terrible speller, so I always have to look stuff up, and the word before I find my word is actually usually more interesting. So a shamish is a Babylonian god who oversees crops, but when she has to, she dispenses justice. So I kind of figured we needed somebody around to dispense some justice these days.
And that pink and that yellow definitely kind of makes me think of a de Kooning a little bit.
Yeah, you can't use some kind of, it's amazing how some people claim a color, that pink. I've been working on these series. What's nice about getting older is you have all these series to go back to. So I started my first caves light painting and Plato's Myth of the Cave. I think the first one was about 1978. So you can see the figure is still attached to a little rod. So it's still a prop and a cutout for the real thing, somewhere behind the light.
So how long would you work on something like this?
They come all different ways. Some stick around
Don't push
for
them.
like years.
Right.
Other times I hit it within a month, 5 or 6 workings. This is one of the ones I was all warmed up on other work, and this one came together pretty quick for me.
You know, we're talking about using wood and found things that you've had. What distinguishes a painting that you might make on canvas as opposed to something that you'd be working on board? Okay.
Well, I spend my summer having to empty my basement of all this wood I brought over from the city when I left. So I was thinking, finally getting back in the studio, what should I be painting? And the guy next door was doing the same thing, emptying his basement, and he had all these guys moving wood. So I said, okay, there's my subject.
This is titled Guys Moving Wood, is that
Moving Wood 2.
Moving Wood.
The moving that the aluminum one over there, yes, that was Moving Wood 3. Moving Wood 1 is at home. And you can catch the little feet of the next row of guys up there, hanging down. But some of these panels, when I was younger, it was okay to make 3/4 inch plywood big panels and move them around. As I've gotten older, I kind of come back to canvas. But still, some of these guys are still around.
After your spinal injuries, you decided that the canvas made a little more sense.
Spending a summer moving wood out of the basement. And they also became more problematic to ship and store. But also went through a period of a lot of experimentation, and it was just easy to throw up these canvases rather than building a panel every time. So I kind of returned to canvas.
And here are some of your, these are all etchings, is that what?
Yes,
I was looking at this is an Aqua Tent, and I have to say you've got some really beautiful, rich blacks in there.
I printed with Omi Graphics, Sue Omi, out in Steamboat Springs, Colorado, and she met me on Facebook, flew me out there, and we worked together for 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Around 2011, and produced this body of work. It was pretty extraordinary.
Now these are all on copper plates, is that what you're working on? Is this a mezzotint? Is that what that is?
I believe so. I mean, I knew nothing. I was terrified. I knew nothing about printing. And she worked with me and a crew of guys to produce this body of work. It was wonderful because painting has been so solitary, and it was really nice to have this.
And these are what, about 8-inch squares, 6-inch squares, something like that?
The paper's about 12 by 12 overall.
And what kind of edition numbers do you do on these?
About 8. And these
This
were
is
my
also a
artist
very
groups.
nice one,
Thank you.
Aqua Tent.
I spent a few years fishing, so the imagery comes out of my experiences. And I have an aunt out there, and this is called Aunt Libby's Family Album. So I would go through it, and the family of fishermen was there.
And here you've got, is that 3 colors on that? 2 colors?
Yeah, that's a color print, and it's called Doubt of Columbus.
Okay. It looks like alizarin crimson and maybe, was that a Prussian blue?
It's a mix.
Something else in there. Okay, we'll slide around the corner. You know, one of the other things that I thought was notable is that some of the pieces you've kind of built a little box on the back of them to, get them to stand out from the frame or from the wall a little bit.
Yeah, I like the flow. You know what would be fun too, to share my book with you? That was underneath the Shamish painting later.
Take a look.
My girl was, when I was young, my girl was one of the first topless dancers in New York City. She danced at the Metropole. And Jake LaMotta, as he fell from grace and as a bouncer, he used to bring her home and say, they're going to make a movie about me one day. And they made Raging Bull. And he would escort her home and hang out with us.
And this is another ship painting.
That's my wife on the bottom, dreaming of the boat we hope to get one day. We dream of boats.
Now most of this is, I guess all of the paintings are oil painting, right?
Yes.
Want to talk a little bit about why you stick with oil painting? A lot of people have switched over to acrylic, but you know, I'm someone that loves oil paint, and what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I feel one of the beautiful things about oil paint is you can take off as intelligently as you put on, where I found mostly acrylic is additive, unless you go through the Leon Gollop thing where you bring the family out with butcher knives.
Right, have hire workers to scrape them down.
Yeah, I kind of feel also it's kind of like the difference between video and film. The light passes through oil paint, and it's such a sensuous medium. And
well, it always struck me as being more organic. You know, it's made from the oil that's squeezed from the seeds that are the flax seeds that the linen is made from, and it's got such a nice kind of living quality. It sort of changes and puckers and.
It breathes. It's a lot. For me, it does what it needs to do when I need it to do.
You know, the other thing. Go ahead.
This is my builder series. So this was built in '95. And I built the structure, and it was so elegant, and I hit it so nice that it took another 10 years to figure out what the heck to do with it. And as I've matured as a painter, I kind of understood how to go back in. So we go down to Guatemala, Mexico. It's kind of amazing, the culture and cities that were built there by these people. Bigger than the cities in Europe at one point. And it's just pretty fascinating to me, so I wanted to get that story.
How about the scale? Most of these are intimate. I wouldn't say small, but they're small enough that you could pick them up and hold them in your hands fairly easily. Now, are you doing that mostly with all the painting now, or do you just happen to select a bunch of smaller pieces for the show?
Well, mostly this is the scale. When we left our Tribeca loft, I went from a 2,000 square foot space to a 14-foot living room in Staten Island. So my resources were diminished, time, energy, money, space. But I thought back, you know, looking at guys like Forrest Best, of course, you can make a
Forrest
good
Best,
small
absolutely.
painting. You can make a good small painting. And
Albert Pinkham Ryder.
I saw a beautiful Goya. It was 4 inches by 4 inches on a piece of ivory. And if you put it online, you'd think it was 60 inches. So I was convinced I could make a good small painting.
And this is called Yellow Coaster, part of the SVA Waste Paint series.
So about growing up at Coney Island and steeplechase out there.
Sure.
But I have my class. I don't let my kids throw away paint because they're so wasteful. So I bring a canvas in. And for 30 classes through the academic year, we pile paint on the canvas. And it's a good lesson for them because it's so mutable, oil paint, and we can come back and push it around and turn it vertical. And it kind of loosens them up a bit, and it also saves a lot of paint. And I see what they can do with all this stuff that we're going to throw out. And then I bring them home, and it takes another 3-4 years to finish them and work on them.
Did you have them look at the DeFeo when it was?
You know, a whole bunch of Lejeune, Leroy, all those guys who, you know, hang on there for years. And
tell us about this. You've got a little carpet piece in the background.
My wife had this beautiful carpet, and it got ruined, so it became my studio carpet, and then finally it was even too funky for the studio. So I put it up, and it's called Descended Staircase. So 100 years later, after Duchamp, we finally arrived at the bottom of the staircase. And these are the things we find down there when we get to the bottom of the staircase. A little magic, a reflection of ourselves a bit older, and yet another staircase.
Okay, let's take a look at your book.
Yeah, the book had a great idea to take these books I have at home. And this is actually one of these things is like, you know, to move forward, all of us abandon things.
Sure.
And so one of the things that was nice is this is like a dictionary. So this is the last abstract, quote unquote, painting I did, and I was trying to figure out what did I like about it.
What year was that?
This was about 2005.
Okay.
So I see this corner here, and I put it in Photoshop, and this is what I got. In Photoshop, I just darkened it. And as I looked at it, I felt art is such a leap of faith. So I thought about Columbus's leap of faith, and I ended up putting the boats, a horizon line, and I was off to the races. And that was my transition. So this whole book here.
How many pages is it in the book?
Oh, I don't know, few hundred. These are my little rainmakers from Mexico.
Now, are these mostly digital prints, or are they original drawings? Or
some of them are
etching?
actual gouache. And then I also, at the time, what's nice is this documents the emergence of the technology of Epson archival printing and Photoshop. So when I started this, I didn't have access to that technology really. And so at one point I can now do archival printing. So some of these are still either archival print, this is an archival print. And then there's the actual watercolors in some of them and gouaches. I love gouache. Gouache, I feel, is like another kind of oil paint in a way. You can take off, you can put on.
I've got one more question I think we'll wrap up with.
Okay.
So I mentioned that I saw your first show back in 1980.
Yeah, with Max.
Right. Talk a little bit about what it's like to be an artist that sort of passes a certain amount of time in an art center like New York, the ups and downs and ins and outs, and what motivates you, what keeps you going back to the studio?
Well, I just love to paint. I mean, it's what I am, in a sense. I think all of us had more than one career in us. It could have been an architect, could have been this or that, but painting is this living thing, and everything I have to offer is in paint. And I think, you know, we live a life, and whether somebody's looking or not, this is what we do. We make our art, we make our offering, and if we're fortunate, you know, it gets out there, and then it doesn't get out there for a while. I think I was blessed that it didn't get out there for a while. I had a chance to work, try my thing, fail, make my stuff without
But you've
worrying.
been working as an educator pretty
Yeah.
steadily for...
Yeah,
And I know that I was at the opening and a couple of your students came over
yeah,
and
that's nice. I got generations from 1980 on. And they've made their way in the
you're
world.
bringing back
Some
the
of them-
great-great-grandkids now.
Yeah, well, we're guaranteed some attendance. You know, when you're an educator, you're going to have some kids come to this place and show up.
But so like you said, it's in and out and you just keep
Yep.
slugging away at it whether people are looking or not looking.
Yeah,
huh?
yeah, I feel blessed. It's a nice way to spend a life, you know. And I was fortunate. Somebody loved me, and I had some success, and then get to paint. Not bad, not bad.
And now you're getting to show out here at
Yeah,
Bushwick.
Now it's all over again. Here's another
Another generation,
turn.
another generation to corrupt.
Yeah, it's kind of exciting. Find the interest of another generation and sell some of the old guys.
Okay.
Interesting is they're both in parallel in a certain
Michael
way.
David.
You're both, you know, were there for a while, but both of you have used social media. No, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Like Farrell really got his reintroduction back in our world through Facebook.
Right. When we moved to
Yeah,
Staten Island,
that's great.
You know,
That's great.
And now it's like we're seeing like it's like this necessary part of professional practice, and he really entered back into it.
You know, I think that's happened with a lot of people. And the
well,
other...
it's our community. too.
That's right, and the
It's
other
our
great,
geographical.
I think the other great thing about that is a place like Bushwick, you know, they give a lot of people opportunities. It's not just the young, hot-selling artists, it's other people, like you say, that are part of the community, and I think that's kind of one of the things that's made Bushwick unique and,
Well, the
and
model
wonderful.
was like Julian Preto or the Tribeca before it was Tribeca. Artists didn't wait to be anointed. They just went and opened their places and found places to show their work and share with their community. So it's happened again here,
Okay,
which is kind of nice.
all right. Thanks, Farrell Brickhouse here at Life on Mars, and we're just taking a little walking tour of his latest exhibition of paintings. And as always, thank you, Kate. Thank you.
Wow.